Welcome back to another video. My name is Kyle. I'm a full-time options trader and founder of Opinicus, the premier options trading community. Today we're going to be going over a trade recap in United Airlines, ticker symbol UAL. This was another fresh news gap trade. Let's jump right into the charts. Okay, UAL, looking at the grid here. As always, we're going to start with the daily chart. Basically, UAL was gapping down. We had some news. This was on the fresh news part of the list here. If you're unfamiliar with this is the pre-market prep, something that we post in the Traders Think Tank every morning for our active community. If you are an options trader, you need to be in the Traders Think Tank. Now, looking at UAL, the news was United Airlines lowers Q1 guidance. And so, as always, I don't really care about the news. I'm just interested in high impact news that is going to bring an audience to the stock, otherwise known as volume into the stock. From there, I'm purely a technical trader. I'm purely looking at the technical analysis of the chart. And so starting with the daily, basically what we had was we have a gap down from Monday's close. And what you can see here, what I'm looking at is this near-term structure. All right, going back into mid-January, we've got about 2 months of structure here. But I do want to get greater context. I do want to look at the 1 year. And so what I can see just by looking at the 1 year here is this thing is just in a big range. All right, basically it made a high over here in April. We made a low down here in October. It's just been trading sideways within that range. You do have a little bit of a push outside of the range here, but nothing that really held. And so in summary, the stock is just trading sideways. And if I zoom out a little more, we can see that this thing has pretty much been trading sideways since July of 2021. Even back farther than that, we're just totally sideways. So it's range bound. That's kind of the point here. Now getting into the actual near-term action, this is what I'm primarily going to be focused on. What we can see is that the stock is gapping down below this recent structure. Now, what I'm thinking here is I don't know for sure if this stock is going to be puking right at the open. So I'm going to post this as a no bias idea. It is a gap. We are gapping down. As always, a gap does not necessarily mean that it is going to go with the direction of the gap. So in this case, a gap down is not necessarily bearish. And what I'm thinking is if this area is going to hold as support, I don't really want to be shorting. This was prior resistance. And so there is potential here that this little area can actually go ahead and hold as support. And so that's something that I'm thinking about as I'm doing my analysis on this stock. So I'm going to post it as a no bias idea, meaning that I am not going to be trading the open. And what I mean by the open is I'm not going to be trading the first 2 minutes of the market open in this stock. And so with that in mind, the way I'm going to be game planning for this is I'm going to be leaning to the bearish side of this play simply because I like how this structure is breaking down. And then if you are familiar with volume profile, what you'll see here is known as a volume void. And so anytime we have a volume void on the chart, generally those voids can fill quickly. That is an area where this is looking at volume through price rather than standard volume through time, which is kind of the default that most people are looking at. This just looks at volume through price. And so when you have a volume void on your volume profile here, that's an area where not a lot of transactions have taken place and price can move quickly through that area. We could see this kind of push here from early January. As it started to get into that volume void, it just had some true momentum type of action. And so that's kind of what I'm interested in capturing here. Down into the downside, maybe we can get a test of these highs here, and then I'll kind of reevaluate the play depending on how it opens. And so my first reference point is going to be this structure low right here around 48. We'll call it 47.7. The low right here, kind of right here, had a high right here. So I know that this is going to serve as a key level. Basically, I want weakness below this point. If we start to see strength above that, that's where the play is kind of going to flip to bullish. I'm not really going to be bearish on it anymore. I also have the prior day low mark there as a reference point on the chart. Let me take that off. And so let's get into the intraday. So we could see pre-market after hours, basically strong move down, just starts to consolidate. Pre-market, it started to push higher off of this after hours consolidation. That has given me some pause on the bearish idea, because as it starts to get up into that 47.70 area, even 48, I'm thinking that this could potentially flip into the long. The short is going to be negated. And so again, this is why I have the 2-minute rule on the no bias plays. I want to see how things open up. I don't want to get caught offsides in a big way on a trade like this. And so basically what I'm looking at here, as the stock opens up, bring up the 1-minute chart here, we could see that the level was tested, the short time frame level. That was the structure low, if you remember from the daily chart, rejected pretty quickly. Again, I'm just spectating. As price starts to break that first candle low and then get into the trigger, I'm initiating my short all through this move right here. It happened very quickly. As this push kind of gets made, I'm purchasing my puts so that I'm effectively short the stock. Now this does kind of get ahead of the 2-minute rule, but once this level was negated, I have much higher conviction in this trade. And so the 2-minute rule is still effective in this scenario. I still kind of let the stock open up and show me what it wants to do. In this case, I know that bears are in control. I want to get involved as quickly as possible once I have conviction in this trade, because again, these volume voids that we have here, they tend to fill quickly. And so if I wait too long on this trade, like if I'm too strict on that 2-minute rule, I may end up chasing the stock, and that's not a position that I want to be in. And so once I have this kind of conviction in the trade here, as it pushes through the trigger, remember the posted idea was watch for weakness below 47 to test 45, 43.5, and 42. Now 45 was the after hours low, so I'm looking for a move down into here. I did also have the pre-market low marked on the chart, and you can kind of see it coincides with that after hours consolidation as well. Price was just kind of consolidating around that 45.6 area. And so pushes lower. As this stock starts to prove me correct, I'm scaling out of profits on the trade. Here are the executions. We can take a look at this. Now, TraderView does not do a great job of demonstrating executions when you're purchasing puts. But again, I was short on this candle. You can see my options buy on this candle, and I'm scaling out into strength of the move. I'm out of the play entirely down into the lows here. I was looking for more into PT1. That's ideally what I wanted to see, but we have to keep the context in mind. The stock has already put in a 5% move intraday in just a period of 4 to 5 minutes. From a probability perspective, should I really hold that trade for an additional, 30 cents? Not really. It does not really make sense. And so around this, I posted in the chat saying, keep tight trails on your trade. That basically means don't let this thing bounce too much. You need to keep a very tight stop on the rest. And so as this started to kind of show some buying interest here, we do have some exhaustion volume. You could see the much bigger volume right through here. That's telling me that buyers are stepping in at this pre-market low. If we flip over to the 2-minute, you can see a hammer here. And so that's all I need to see. I'm out of the trade. I'll reevaluate maybe up here, maybe, later in the afternoon. All I know is that I've nailed the initial move in the stock. It's time to get out of my trade. Initial entry was around 0.50, so 50 cents on the puts, and the final exit was around 0.9, so almost 100% gain on this trade. This was kind of an opening drive style of trade in a stock that was gapping with fresh news. That's the breakdown on the play. If you're in the think tank and you have questions, feel free to send me a DM. Otherwise, go ahead and leave a comment below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.